Hey everybody, and welcome to the Meddling Kids podcast, a review of all things Scooby-Doo. I'm the guy that just sold all my property on Haunted Isle. I'm Stephen Pappas.
And I'm Julie Kinn. Today we are talking about Season 1, Episode 2 of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Hassle in the Castle.
I'm very excited.
Are you? I loved this episode. It was so weird.
It made me question how gullible I was as a child in so many ways. So many ways.
Okay, yeah, this episode has a lot of the classic bits, which we will get into. But first, I have a quick question for you, Stephen Pappas.
Sure.
How old do you think Fred is?
47? I have no clue. I feel like he's creepily older than the others, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he has that broad chest, that you don't see in teenagers. Like, men develop that, I think, for the most part, in their early 20s, unless they take a lot of testosterone, I guess. Also, I wouldn't be surprised, based on some of his other character traits that we will discuss, if he's deliberately hanging out with younger children so that they can kind of be his minions and do his bidding.
Ugh, Fred's the worst.
Yeah, he really is. Okay, so this episode is all about teaching children that magic doesn't exist and breaking down for them exactly how to do famous magic tricks and spoil magicians for them for the rest of their life. So let me start off with a creepy island with a rundown castle, which is a real shame because it looks actually like it was some nice architecture once. And I was trying to figure out where this is because it's unusual. There's a beachfront, but on the beach there's deciduous trees that look like they've been ravaged by a fire. I mean, these are like huge deciduous trees. Like they look like it was an old growth forest of like 200-year-old cedars that now are just habitat trees.
Right. And that's going to play into something that I'm going to bring up a lot on this show, I have a feeling, which is where do these kids live?
Right.
Because County Museum, okay, that I can let that slide. Now there's this island, which doesn't seem to fit. Like, are they on the Great Lakes? I don't know. I'm going to slowly try to figure out where they're located, though.
Yeah, we know it's in a county because they have a county museum. Is this what Florida looks like, maybe?
Maybe? I mean, I was born in Florida. I should know this. I mean...
Swamps have trees.
Some trees. All the Florida listeners are yelling right now. I can hear Paul from the Varmints podcast literally just like, yes, swamps have trees.
Yeah, avoid being hated, ladies. Please let us know. Okay, so at this castle, there is a ghost, or potentially a dude in a ghost suit. No, not whatever you call a ghost suit. A costume with a telescope.
Sure.
Yeah, watching some children boating at night. And who are those children? It's the Scooby Gang.
Of course, and they're just boating.
Yeah.
They're just out boating. Whose boat is this? Is this the boat that Fred takes out to hide his bodies? I don't know. Like,
It might be. Okay, so this boat is really sweet. On top is a boat, just your average boat that you would go out at night in a fog with. But underneath is this super amazing kitchen area. Boat terms, I should have looked these up on Wikipedia. The deck and the galley are really classy because Shaggy and Scooby are able to make snacks in luxury. It's really nice. So Scooby and Shaggy make a sandwich.
right. And this is the first time, by the way, that we get like the munchies moment where they're making snacks.
Can you describe it?
I don't remember what was on it. I remember anchovies,
Marshmallow and
sardines.
But it was like a Dagwood type
yeah.
sandwich. Like 40 slices of bread all sliced up with a whole bunch of stuff in the middle. So the whole thing is,
Right.
2 feet high and you got to hold it with a hand underneath and a hand on top. Very comical and delicious looking despite the ingredients. But poor Shaggy doesn't get to eat any of it because Scooby chomps the whole thing.
Just so you know, I don't know if you caught this.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in this fog.
Yeah.
They're in this really hazy fog. And Velma, first of all, calm down, Velma. Velma's just over here giving the scientific, like, all about the barometric pressure and all this stuff. And, like, looking at the camera just like, yeah, I know how smart I am. And then in this haze, Shaggy pokes his head up from below deck and goes, "You buzzed?"
What? No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does. And I don't know if that was like a double entendre, like were they trying to say like you rang, like, hey, are you did you call me? Because maybe she mentioned him. But he totally was asking if they were high because they were in a haze and he was hungry. And I think they're starting to hint at it more heavily.
Yeah, in episode 2, starting to hint at it more heavily. I can't wait to see what happens. Well, remember how you said that you were surprised at how gullible you were as a child? I'm still that gullible as an adult. So I'm going to depend on you to point out these things because it's all going to be way over my head, all right?
Oh, I got you.
It's not that I'm inexperienced in adult stuff.
Gotcha.
I'm just not very quick.
Oh, sure.
All right, so they have this impressive spread downstairs.
Of course they do.
Despite being lost in the fog, Scooby and Shaggy making snacks, but oh no, they run aground onto the island. And they already know that this island is called Haunted Island. So why were they boating so close to it at night in a fog? I'm guessing it was Fred's idea.
Haunted Island? Like, really? Like you couldn't come up with a better name?
Yeah, come on, Florida. Really?
Yeah.
Scooby sees some wildlife and has another cute, actual dog-like moment where he's chasing a crab covered in a piece of paper. And, of course, the crab snaps at him. And it's adorable. Scooby runs back to the gang with a piece of paper in his mouth, his snout mouth.
Snout mouth.
And, yeah, thank you. And they all get covered in sand. This episode, by the way, made me laugh out loud like 10 times. And I've seen it before. And it's just, I don't know, saying it out loud, all the kids got covered in sand and it was really funny. I don't know why that was funny in the moment, if it's the animation or the music or just childhood memories. I don't know. Listeners, weigh in. Does this show make you laugh out loud or roll your eyes or both? I think it's both for me. Anyway, they notice Scooby has this piece of paper in his mouth and they check it out. Guess what it is?
I don't know. What is it? Is it a map?
It is a map. But it's one of those bits of treasure map that on the other side is written all in caps, "Danger, leave Haunted Island."
Which Scooby can read, which is shocking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't even put that together. Right. "Danger, leave Haunted Isle," because after Scooby reads that, he makes like they've got to get out of there. But in Scooby talk. And guess who votes? No, we're not leaving.
I bet it's Fred.
It's Fred.
And not only does Fred vote, let's not leave, he's like, hey, let's go look for help. You know where I bet we could find help? Mm-hmm. That creepy, haunted, abandoned castle.
Yeah, the old pirate castle. And we find out later, police are on this island. It's not like it's uninhabited entirely, despite the poor naming convention. They could have kept going, or they could have tried to make a fire or signal others. No, they want to go and breaking and entering, which Fred is always up for, as we discussed last time. So put a little bookmark in the idea that there's a bit of map here, because at the end of the episode, we figure out whoever actually had the treasure map wouldn't want these children digging around for it. So it doesn't really make sense that it's there. Maybe it's a false lead or a red herring.
Oh, sure.
Anyway, the kids go and invade this old pirate castle. And who's watching them? It's a ghost, of course.
Sure.
My question was, why is this dude wearing a white sheet? Or why is the ghost being so obvious about it? Because you would think it would want to be hidden. Or I guess if it's trying to scare them away from Haunted Island, makes sense.
Yes, but I don't know. He's transparent. How's he doing it?
Right. Then he becomes transparent. So first he's corporeal and then transparent. And that just goes up and back throughout the entire episode. So they go inside the castle and it's all deserted and almost everything is cobwebbed, like it hasn't been touched in years. But every once in a while, there's something that looks pristine and brand new. And they look at a picture of Vasquez the pirate. And for some reason, Vasquez the pirate had an oil painting of himself hanging up. So I guess that's a thing that happens. And the kids, the kids still haven't noticed the ghost, who is now like 50% transparent.
By the way, this ghost is straight up dude in a sheet. It is your classic ghost. It's not like creepy, quote unquote, the Phantom, as they call him. It is not like some sort of creepy spectral being. It is
right. Yeah, good point.
Literally a McDonald's toy of a ghost.
Yeah, I've seen Halloween costumes that look about this good.
I've seen ones that look better.
Yeah, my kids could make a better costume than this out of duct tape. Okay, so Velma gives a warning, which is total foreshadowing and another nice literary technique. She says, I've read that these old castles are loaded with traps.
Again, calm down, Velma. She's just like, oh, I can read.
Stop bragging.
Look at how much I read.
Right. Thanks for Velma for reminding us. But then Daphne's like, oh, don't believe everything you read. And of course, typical Daphne immediately gets caught in a trapdoor. And then the ghost laughs really loud, and it's spooky because it's the first time the kids are aware of the ghost or any kind of thing weird. So Velma carries everyone out of the room in a very surreal moment. They all hop in her arms. I'm not sure if Fred is in the group or if he's over, like, looking for clues because he doesn't show fear or experience emotions. And Daphne lands in the basement.
Sure.
So then Scooby and Shaggy are wandering around looking for Velma, and a skull gives them directions.
Right.
And that totally scares them. And then Shaggy says he sure wishes he had a sandwich. And a sandwich appears.
Because ghosts just have sandwich fixins just everywhere.
They do. In fact, he then asks for mustard, and some Grey Poupon comes down. And then he wants it chopped in half, and the kids don't get scared here.
Oh my God.
A suit of armor chops it in half for him. But he's really scared, but he still eats it because he doesn't want to waste food.
Like, what was their pot laced with? Like, that's all I could think this whole time was like, this is all some sort of drug-induced hallucination.
You know, that's a really good point, Steven, because at one point, or I think Shaggy does say, oh, I must be dreaming. Otherwise, this would be pretty scary. So to him, this is another one of those dreams he has where food appears and stuff happens, you know, like you do.
Sure. He needs to take his medicine.
Yeah, there was no medicine in this one.
Nope.
Poor Shaggy and his hallucinations. Physical hallucinations are really rare. The auditory are the most common. Psychology fact. Now you know. Okay, before the ghost tries scaring them again, they finally happen upon Daphne. But she hears their footsteps coming, and she grabs a vase, and she hits Shaggy over the head with it, and he clearly has a traumatic brain injury because he does have a concussion and loses consciousness briefly. So it's definitely at least a mild TBI. And of course they don't have him lay down and rest because they don't know proper care.
No, and Daphne uses the great pun. I think it was Daphne that's like, Shaggy used his head. And I was like, oh no, like, don't do that. She just impressed me because when she was first in the dungeon or wherever, she goes, how will I find my way out of this inner sanctum?
Right. Good words.
I was like, whoa.
Vocabulary.
Inner sanctum. Way to go, Daphne. Like, you just redeemed yourself for seeming dumb enough to fall into this trap.
Yeah, but then she stigmatizes traumatic brain injury. Thanks a lot, Daff. Set us behind 15 years, why don't ya? So now the ghost tries scaring them again, but this time they actually see it. So it's the first time they've seen the phantom or the phantasm or whatever, and they're all freaked out. It tells them to leave Haunted Isle and never return.
Right.
And it's still transparent. So we get a nice chase scene.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of two chase scenes in this episode where as they're running, they keep running past the same bit of background over and over, which is something I love about Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
And I know they play their own music, but do you ever, like, in the background when they're running, hear the Benny Hill music? Just like, just like, because I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, very much so. Okay, so then something finally confuses me. Velma has a Mulder moment, whereas she's usually a very Scully type.
Right.
So all the kids are like, what's going on? And Velma says, I have a simple solution. It's haunted. Yeah, I was surprised by that. And all the children are like, okay, let's get out of here. Except for one member of the party who says, no. We're not leaving this place where something is chasing us.
Who was that?
It's Fred.
Of course it was.
Yeah. He says, I'm a psychopath. And I need adrenaline to feel.
I mean, that's kind of what I heard. Like, I'm starting to, I don't know. I'm concerned. Like, some days I'm thinking he's Zodiac. Other days I'm thinking he's Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. Like, I don't know how to feel about Fred, but none of the feelings are good.
He is not a great role model.
No.
No, it's not good. Okay, the kids find a gigantic key. I don't know how to describe this for our listeners to understand what this key looks like.
I mean, it's comically large.
Like a meter big, a yard?
Maybe. Imagine, like, in old cartoons and old movies where like they get the key to the city.
Yes.
But it's like literally big enough to open the entire city somehow. Like it's this like those comically large checks that they give you on like game shows and Publishers Clearinghouse. It's like that, but a key.
Yes, and it's blue.
Right, and it has writing on it.
Yes, it says second passage to the old bell. And they quickly realized there are no passages here.
It basically said, like, let's move the plot along. You can use this key to go through this door. Like, that was exactly. In less words. Like,
yeah. There's confusion here. They say there's no passages here, but there are. They're in a huge castle. But then one of them says a passage could be in a book. And then Daphne makes a brilliant observation. The best place to find a book is in a library.
The library.
Good job, Daphne. So, yeah, this next part was also super confusing. I watched this with my friend Terry, and I was pausing it and asking him what just happened. Neither of us could figure it out, so I'm going to have to look it up on Wikipedia. So maybe they found the right book because it was called Old Bell, because that's what the key said on it. I'm not sure. Anyway, there was a passage in the book about catacombs. I've got 5 question marks here. Somehow, this leads them down to the catacombs, also known as the basement of the castle, which has a lot more storage.
Sure.
Are there any other details you can think of here?
Not really, because I this whole part of it seemed like a fever dream to me. Like, I was just like, I don't know what's happening. They're using this comically large key, and they're just like, everything seems normal, but it's not. And so I was just like writing feverishly, like, my confusion.
Okay, perfect. Nope, that sounds great. Listeners, please weigh in and help us out.
But we get a moment immediately. I don't remember what's said, and you may have this in your notes. I think it's coming up next. We get a moment that clearly proves that Shaggy is not having auditory hallucinations.
Okay.
Because Scooby says something.
He's hungry.
And yes, and Fred responds.
Yes, they're negotiating how many Scooby snacks, and Scooby wants 3 to continue.
Right, and another question becomes,
okay,
are Scooby Snacks like a brand in this universe? Like, because I know Scooby Snacks exist in the world in which we live, like as a brand because of this show. But are they just like his own personal like brand of snack he carries around? Are these homemade snacks? Or these milk bones that they're just calling Scooby Snacks? Like,
did your mom ever say, do you want a Steven snack?
No, she didn't. Is that?
Yeah, mine didn't either.
I was going to say, is that something that you say to your kids? Like,
I don't know. Maybe psychopaths do.
Okay, please don't do that.
Yeah. Parenting note.
Don't ever refer to it. Like, if you got a kid named Jeremy, don't be like, hey, Jeremy, you want a Jeremy snack? Because I feel like the answer's no.
Right. You don't want Jeremy going to school and, like, trading from his lunchbox and saying to his friends, ooh, my mom packed me a Jeremy snack. Do you want a Jeremy snack? Want a little taste of Jeremy?
Every kid's just like, no, I don't want a Jeremy snack.
No, Jeremy, keep it in the baggie. Yes. Thank you for the parenting advice, Stephen.
You're welcome. I'm such a accomplished parent.
Okay, so all of a sudden, the Scooby Gang sees one of the perfectly clean items they mentioned. It's a perfectly clean magic hat and wand on a tablecloth. Shaggy uses the wand and oh wait, is it Shaggy or Scooby?
No, it's Scooby, because I wrote down, how the heck did he do this without thumbs?
Right, no opposable thumbs, but he can hold a wand.
Exactly.
So he pulls out a live bunny.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't chase it, and then he pulls out flowers, and the flowers squirt him. So we're getting this sense that this is like magic trick stuff. And it turns out that this gross, disgusting room is actually full of magic tricks. But footsteps are coming, so they run into a closet, and there's more creepy laughing, and then we see the phantom. And again, it tells them to leave. Now you will pay. So at this point, I would suggest, yes, let's go. But not these children. Thanks, Fred. They knock the door down, and they run into some of those weird magical cabinets where you run into one door and run out the other, like in the Monkeys.
Yes.
And then the craziest thing happens in the entire episode. This is the thing that blew me away.
Yes.
Shaggy is in one of those boxes where you get sawed in half, and the saw is moving on its own. Now, if I was Shaggy, this would make me wet myself. It is legit freaky. We see Shaggy's head screaming in terror, and his feet are at the bottom, and he does get sawed in half. And then the 2 boxes separate, and the one with his feet runs away comically. and his head falls off. We get a closer view, and it was actually, it was a dummy head.
A dummy head, but why does this man or ghost or whatever have a extremely accurate dummy head of specifically Shaggy?
Exactly. And how did he know Shaggy was going to go in there, not one of the other ones? Is he making dolls of all of them?
Yes, it's very disturbing. And what?
Life-size dolls. He's making, let me just repeat myself, he's making dolls of them. Life-sized dolls.
I hate dolls so much. I don't know if you probably know that about me, and that's why you are just harassing me, because dolls are literally the minions of the Antichrist.
I do know, I'm sorry.
They're just the worst. But I do have a thought here, and that is when they walk into this room, and all the magic stuff's here, right before all the chaos ensues, Fred, because it's Fred, goes, "Wait a second. I think I'm beginning to figure it all out." And I'm like, wait, how?
That doesn't make any sense.
There's been no clues. Like, no clues. Like, I just wrote, wait, you're beginning to figure it out? Please tell me, Fred. Please tell me. How? And then a bunch of question marks.
Right. Or why didn't he at least tell the other meddling kids? He should have said, okay, everyone, fall in. Stand up meeting. Quick, go around. Here's what's going on. Let's come up with a plan.
Right.
Instead of, let's have my friend be sawed in half and have a life-size replica DOLL made of him.
Right. No, instead he runs. Thank you for not saying the word, by the way.
You're welcome. It makes everything better.
Instead he goes, no, let's run through into this next area and, oh, hey, look, what's this? It's just a working magic carpet.
Right. No big deal.
No big deal.
Yeah. And there's this antique sign on it that says magic carpet. Fortunately, Fred knew the magic words to use. And so he says, hope this works. And it works.
And it's like, it's not abracadabra.
No, it's something unique.
But it's like a sort of weird racist feeling version of abracadabra. Like, I was a little uncomfortable.
I didn't notice that. What's that secret organization people think is ruling the government?
The Illuminati?
Yes.
We should not say their names on the podcast. They may come for us.
Yeah.
It was something like that, but it had Ali in the name, and I was like, is this like an Alibaba, like, in the 40 Thieves, like, reference? Or I really didn't know how to feel about it. I mean, it just made me not like Fred even more.
I wouldn't be surprised if Fred is a racist. I'm just throwing that out there.
Oh, I mean, no, not at all.
I know that's harsh after calling him a psychopath.
Well, oh no, he's going to prove he's a psychopath in a few minutes, and I'm going to tell you why, but let's keep going.
Okay. So they crash into more stuff. As always, after breaking and entering, the Scooby Gang has to destroy property. And then we get to commercial break. So why don't we take a quick commercial break and hear about another podcast?
Awesome. Let's do it.
Hey, true crime fans. Have you listened to Wine and Crime yet? We're a new true crime comedy podcast hosted by three childhood friends who chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash our worst Minnesotan accents.
Each week, us gals pick a true crime topic and pair it with a delicious wine before delving into the background and psychology behind the crime. Then we share and speculate wildly about a couple of bonkers cases related to the topic.
Past episodes have included necrophilia, cults, crimes of passion, cruise ship disappearances, exorcisms gone wrong, all this over a bottle of wine, or, let's be real, 3.
We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and a number of other podcasting apps. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod, and check out our website and blog at www.wineandcrimepodcast.com.
And we're back. So Fred has a plan.
Yeah.
But here's how I summarize his plan. Let's steal some weapons and make a trap.
Yeah, and then I literally just wrote, Fred can build traps? Interesting.
Yeah, before I was thinking he's probably prior military, but now I'm thinking he's more militant organization, not actual legit military.
I'm concerned because he clearly builds a very, like, one, it's a, what are they called? Like the really complicated, like, traps. A Rube Goldberg machine? Yes, exactly. It's terrifying.
But,
and
like,
then,
deadly.
Right.
A deadly Rube Goldberg.
He builds this machine with all of these different weapons and parts, and it all has to go exactly according to plan. And what is his plan? They're like, well, how are we going to get the Phantom to trigger the trap? And he goes, we're not. Scooby is. And I'm like, ooh, just volunteer in Scoobs. Like, what you doing?
It's not right. He takes the most vulnerable member of the gang. Okay, but how are they going to get the ghost to chase Scooby? The ghost won't chase a dog, but he would chase a human. So Fred has another great idea, and this one is actually pretty awesome. To lure out the ghost, Fred dresses Scooby in a mustache and a hat and a trench coat. And I was completely fooled.
It's the best idea.
Yeah. It was adorable and awesome, and it looked totally human.
I love it so much. Yeah, my notes just say, sure, I buy that. Yep.
Okay, so Fred, at first Scooby is not into this plan, but then Fred encourages Scooby to embrace his inner John Wayne. And so Scooby's walking around all, wide-legged stance. He looks in a vase. There's nothing in there, so he walks away. But then afterwards, we see the ghost float out of the vase. And then other mysterious things like that happen. And then Scooby and the ghost have a standoff. And I guess it's supposed to be like a Mexican standoff?
Well, he referenced... They were trying to make Scooby brave, and they were like, you got to be like so-and-so. And he's like, I don't know. And he was like, no. Like, so-and-so. And he goes, no. And then they're like, be like John Wayne.
Oh, right.
And he was like, John Wayne.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a very Western standoff, because he just started walking around like very old school Western style for the rest of his like bipedal adventure. And
I just wish they'd had some Western themed music. If I was editing this episode, it would have been like, wah, wah, wah.
Oh,
wah,
yeah.
wah, wah.
Straight up. Like, because that's what's happening. And, of course, the ghost is keeping pace.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting to me. He's not just, like, coming at him. He's like, all right, yeah, I'll take paces.
Yeah, this is what we're
Let's
doing
do
now.
This
is how we do it. So then there's some ghost chasing, and they keep passing the same background over and over. Thank you, Hanna-Barbera. And finally, Fred kind of checks in, and he's like, okay, Scoob, come on, deploy the trap. And Scooby does. But the innocent doggy sets the trap instead of the ghost. So a very complicated Rube Goldberg death machine kind of goes off. I can't remember all the bits. I couldn't keep it straight. It just looked really dangerous to me. And finally, Scooby's hanging in the air, hanging by his tush. Do you guys have the word tush in Charlotte? Is that a word you know?
We do. We do use the word tush. I've used the word tush since Boy Meets World taught me that word in the 90s.
Oh, good.
So, yes.
Excellent.
I prefer tushy, but I can go with tush.
Okay. I could say tuchus and start using some Yiddish.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, I've heard you say tushy.
Ooh,
I could
that's
say
a fun
tuchus
one.
and start using some Yiddish. Make this a super ethnic podcast here. I'm going to embrace my inner Jew. Okay, I'm also an outer Jew. I don't know what that means. Okay, I'm 100% Jew. I'm all Jew. Anyway, so it's got him by the tuchus, but Scooby falls, and because he's got a nice thick furry tuchus, I guess it doesn't stick in there very well, and he falls on top of the ghost, who immediately turns corporeal, because up until this moment, remember, he was transparent for this part of the episode at least. And now we see jutting out from the sheet are arms and legs that are clearly in a gray suit, like a men's formal suit.
Right. And this is where, if you can believe it, things get out of hand. We've made it this far, and this is the point where I was just like, no. Like,
because the guy is Borat?
That's part of it. He is very clearly Borat. I didn't think that. Like, all he needed to do was throw in, like, my wife, like a really, like, weird, outdated early 2000s reference that I just made. No, because all of a sudden, it's like, and he falls on him. And all of a sudden, here's the police. And they're here, and they're like, we were out, and we saw your boat while we were out on our, I don't know, police pontoon boat luncheon.
Yep.
Whatever they were doing.
In the fog at night. The thing that bothered me was the cop wasn't wearing an undershirt, but his overshirt was unbuttoned pretty far down. Sorry, please continue.
Right.
Yeah, so the police identifies the bad guy, and I didn't quite get the name. It was Luke Stone or Bluestone.
We've made it clear from the first episode, I am not the one to go to with names, because I'm just like, I still don't know the guy's name from the first one, Mr. Wurgles.
Okay, we'll go with Bluestones because it sounds kind of slightly dirty. So he's this great magician who's wanted in 6 states. And we don't know if it's for fraud or murder or whatever.
Or to tap his mystical powers.
Oh, good point. I mean,
they may want him for experiments. They may... I'm taking it to a weird spot.
No, I love it. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, or things related to the Illuminati.
Don't say it.
Yeah, I don't
But they're
actually
gonna
know
come for
anything
you.
about
They're going to come for
Illuminati
you.
except for what I saw in Da
don't.
Vinci Code. Okay, sorry. The other one. Illuminati.
Is
I don't know.
What?
I'm making up stuff.
I had a moment where I was like, is that a thing? Tell me more. Like, did he have a car?
Okay, so they find out that there's treasure here on Haunted Island. And they presume that Bluestones wanted people off the island so that while he's hiding from the cops, he could be searching for the treasure. This all makes sense. He's got this huge castle. Why not? But they have all these questions about how did you make yourself transparent? How did things float? I mean, how did the Grey Poupon come down? Why were you making life-size dolls of us? Oh, sorry, Stephen. So they allow Bluestones free of his ropes for a little while so he can demonstrate his prowess using like a slide projector to make himself transparent so he could roam around the castle.
I literally, in my living room, stood up and I was yelling. My wife is laying on the couch and I was yelling at the TV like, they're gonna just let
Exactly.
He's like, here, hold these ropes. Like, he just took his ropes off and like is now not bound and just like hands it to him like, here, I'll show you how I did it. Like, and I was just screaming like, they're gonna let him. No. And then my gut reaction was like, run away, live to fight another day. Because right before this, they were like, well, we're gonna take him somewhere. Well, he'll never perform magic ever again after we're done with him. And I was like, that makes it sound like they're gonna do a jail murder.
No, I agree. But here's what I think happened. I think when Bluestones saw Fred, he instantly realized this guy is going to be my successor. Is that the right word? The guy who comes after me and takes on my reason for living. I didn't make Fred, but I can form him into the man he's going to be. Before I get away, I must show him all my tricks and bequeath onto him my great mystical powers.
Can you imagine if we do this show for God knows how long to get through the Scooby canon? Because I was looking it up and it's really complicated. There is 50 years of canon and literally like 17 different series that we're going to have to work through, some of which are garbage and some of which are amazing, plus the 2 live action movies that we'll have to drudge through at some point, which I really dread. But can you imagine if like pretty soon in today's time, like 50 some years on, like Fred is finally revealed to be the ultimate like killer. Like Scooby takes a really dark turn. And like, because they just released a Scooby-Doo comic book where they're all hipsters in a post-apocalyptic universe. And so
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't either. It's like Scooby-Doo does the road. I'm like, I'm not
Scooby does
not
Dallas?
sure how I feel about that. It's very like, it's almost more like Blade Runner though. It's like Velma like fighting zombies. It's real weird. Like, but like, can you just imagine? Like, pretty soon they're like, and
can you imagine?
All along, Fred has been murdering. His murder count's got to be up to like 1,700.
Oh
now.
yeah, totally. After all that time.
Like that, I know that's going to be what happens to every single one of these people that they catch. Like, it's like Dexter, where he only kills criminals.
Yeah, so he's always trying to get the kids to find the bad guys because then he can unleash his demons by torturing and killing them.
Oh my God.
But in the great arc of this story, there's going to be some redemption moments where he's got to turn it around.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm thinking like Buffyverse. Okay, I'm hearing some barking in the background, so I should probably move this along.
That's okay. It's a Scooby podcast. Like,
yeah, it is a Scooby podcast. Okay, we added that in the post to impress you all. It's very realistic.
Exactly. It's just a sound effect.
Okay, so after all of this is resolved, we are still wondering about the treasure. And all of a sudden, we find out Scooby's outside digging. Could it be the treasure? No, it's not.
I bet it's not.
It is like a giant, oversized chipmunk that for some reason was in the ground.
Was it a chipmunk? I assumed it was like a groundhog, like Caddyshack style.
Oh, maybe. I've never seen a groundhog in real life. Yeah. It didn't fit into my schema of mammals, but a groundhog makes way more sense. Okay, I guess it was a groundhog.
Now I'm picturing a like horrifically large chipmunk, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, right, like Chip and Dale. Yeah, but with genetic mutation. Okay, no, you're right, groundhog. It makes me feel better. So now the whole episode makes sense.
There you go.
And that's the end of the episode. Hassle in the castle.
It was something.
It was something.
Oh, yeah. It was, like I told you, I'm not becoming cynical of Scooby-Doo because I love every minute of it, but I'm greatly questioning, like, how smart I was as a child.
Well, we have a lot of questions, and our meddling question of the week this time was sent in by Matt Taryn. He has a question for us. Which is scarier, an honest-to-God phantom or a greedy landowner? I mean, I get the message of the show is that empiricism nullifies fears of the unknown. Matt's a teacher, by the way.
Okay.
But I always thought the reveal was scarier than the original fear. Like, at least a phantom isn't going to lawyer up. Yeah, he's got a great point.
He does.
I mean, Scooby fell on the bad guy, and then they tied up the bad guy.
Oh, well, yeah, they're never, like, good, like, deft killers or anything. That's the thing. It's like, I don't think I've ever seen an episode of Scooby-Doo where it's like, oh, no, Velma's been stabbed. And we must seek immediate medical attention. And
right,
so
no.
I don't want to see that episode. So I honestly feel like greedy land developer or weird Borat-looking magician, like, might be scarier because it's, like, just, like, it makes you question humanity, like, as a whole.
Yeah, it's a difference between a worldview where we live in a safe world where there is no magic, but humans can be evil, versus we live in a world where magic exists and people are inherently good, or somewhere in between. I think in general, I'm more on the side of human evil exists, but it sure would be neat if there was magic.
I think this question is a lot of the basis of basically any novel by Stephen King. So just like go like dive right into that because I've been doing that lately, and I feel like it's always the question of like, what is worse in a world where magic exists, like humanity or the monsters? And I'm just like, oof, well this is real heavy.
Yeah, thanks Matt for bringing it down.
Killing the vibe.
Thanks Matt.
Hey Julie, I got a question for you.
Okay, what's up?
You buzzed?
I can assure you I'm not. But it's okay if you are.
Continue.
Yeah, no, if that's a choice you all can make, it's totally cool. I live in Washington State where it's legal.
I'm buzzed on that decaf coffee.
Right, exactly. I had some potato chips before we started recording.
There you go.
Okay, if you have a meddling question, or if you just want to let us know what you love about Scoob, please email us at meddlingkidspod@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us at meddlingkidspod, or join us on Facebook.
Absolutely. Well, this one's been fun. We want to say thanks so much for joining us on the Meddling Kids podcast.
Definitely.
Thanks also to Dave Sezte, I hope I'm saying that right, for the use of the song Night Surfing as our theme music. It's got a very Scooby vibe, and I very much enjoy it.
Yeah, please check out our other shows. Steven and Chris on Is This Adulting is a great show, and I record with my stinky brother on the Station Wagon podcast.
I love that that's the way that you refer to him every time.
Isn't it?
Is your stinky brother. Is he stinky?
He doesn't actually smell that bad, but if I described him, it would be worse.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Last time I saw him, he punched me 3 times in the knee. See, doesn't that sound worse than stinky?
Wait, why?
Well, for our current podcast for the Station Wagon, we're trying to give up filler words, like the words like and you know, and every time I said them, he kept punching me to punish me and try to train me and help, in air quotes.
Gosh, you got to check out this podcast, guys. It sounds like so much fun.
I totally have Stockholm Syndrome. I'm like, but I love my brother. He is pretty great despite the stench. Okay, so we will be back next time with episode 3, A Clue for Scooby-Doo. And in the meantime, please rate us and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get podcasts.
Awesome. And I think that's going to do it for us this week.
Woohoo!
So I don't know what you did this week, but you would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for us meddling kids.
Stay creepy.
Bye. I just adapted just the bye of every podcast just now.
I love it.